Never had. I'll get you back. Okay, so this talk is inspired by a couple of meetings I went to in 2010. I went to the meeting of the TESOL Association for the first time in Boston that year, and went to all the plenary sessions and to as many papers as I could. And I was listening, one of my little projects, to see whether the word teaching will be mentioned at these conferences. It never was mentioned. Lots of learning. Learning always an intransitive verb. People interacting and learning and all these things, but learn what and somebody teaching them, none. And I found that pretty disturbing. And I went 3 months later, I think, to an e-learning conference in Hong Kong. And I did the same little routine, and once again, the word teaching was never mentioned. So I felt after that conference, can't we have an e-teaching conference? That seems unthinkable, doesn't it? Okay, so the new technology comes, we get people interacting, pushing buttons, and magic. They learn. Okay, so different from the conception I have of what teaching learning is about. I thought some things just need to be said again and again and again, so I'll say them again to you, and if I'm preaching to the converted, I'm sorry. There's lots of unconverted out there, so you can take this talk. I've given the slides to David, and you can run off and talk about teaching. You might get in trouble. So I'll organize it into 4 sections. First of all, I'll do a little review of our understanding in systemic linguistics of language learning in the home, looking at Claire Painter's work, which was inspired by Michael Halliday, and which we used as the basis of our pedagogy, Sydney School pedagogy. Look at how we try to translate those ideas into literacy teaching in school, and then go through some various models, show you how we were thinking and evolved the curriculum genre, the pedagogy that we promote for teaching genres in school. And finally, I'll make some comments about the various anxieties that people have had over the decades about what we're doing. I didn't realize when we started that what we were going to do would be controversial, but very, very quickly as a linguist, I had to come to grips with all kinds of misgivings that people have about a linguistically informed project of this kind. So, we'll start with language learning in the home, okay? About which people have a number of common sense ideas, and then they have a number of ideas informed by Chomsky informalist language learning paradigms. So I'll start with a little quote by Halliday, who's actually referring to some work by J. Lemke. I'll show you what he says as well. So Halliday writes in terms of this disposition to teach learn. Just as children are predisposed to learn, so parents and others are predisposed to teach. Lemke has shown that a theory of learning must take in account of the human predisposition to teach, as well as of the teaching function in a broader sense that is a feature of the environment as a whole. So, genetic disposition, not just to learn language, but to teach language. Very obvious in parenting. You cannot resist teaching. Lemke himself, a backup strategy has survived in many species that are specifically social. Us, our pets. The same lifelong chemistry plus environment strategy that results in children who are primed to learn also results in adults who are primed to teach. The selective sensitivity of the child gets tuned to a reliable source of information. Reliable because that source, other people in its community, has similarly evolved to provide just that kind of information about the local language in use in the community in that generation. The child sets off a teacher response in adults, just as adults set off a learner response in children. This is stronger the younger the children are. And involves lots of others, nannies, grandparents, close relatives. David Rose, by the way, we'll talk about later, with his grandson. Now, Halliday and Painter have documented all kinds of examples of this if you study their work. References are often made to Halliday's Learning How to Mean, but the substantial bodies of work by Claire Painter are almost never referenced. You can go to Google Scholar. There's a big silence there, but the heart of our pedagogy is based on her work. So here's the kind of thing that they were observing. So Halliday-san, after a family trip to the zoo, shared experience, recounting. The child is learning the recount genre, actually, how to tell about an experience that's been shared. In this case, Nigel, try it, lid. What tried to eat the lid? Try it, Liz. What tried to eat the lid? Goat. Man said no. Goat try eat lid. Man said no. I can't imitate Nigel's baby talk. If you ever see Halliday do a talk on this, he does it perfectly. It's quite interesting. Mother joins the conversation. Again, shared experience. Goat try eat lid. Man said no. Mother. Very Rakaya-san kind of question. Why did the man say no? Goat shouldn't eat lid. Good for it. So Nigel doesn't have not as a realization of negative polarity now. He has a shake of the head. Mother, the goat shouldn't eat the lid. It's not good for it. Goat try eat lid. Man said no. Goat shouldn't eat lid. Good for it. Halliday comments that this story is then repeated as a whole verbatim at frequent intervals over the next few months, with Nigel recounting on his own without the guiding interaction of the caregivers who shared this experience, and repeats this over and over and over again, practicing what it is to tell a recount of a genre that we learn in the oral culture in exactly this way. Claire Painter's examples. Pal's cuddling a toy giraffe. I saw a big giraffe. Yes, what was the giraffe doing? Eating leaves. What about the little giraffe? Remember what he did? Go peep-bo. Yes, he was looking out of the door, wasn't he? The baby giraffe was in an enclosure, peeking out around the corner. That's giraffe. I saw a big giraffe. Big giraffe eating leaves. Little giraffe go peep-bo around the corner. So what you build up interactively with the mentoring, scaffolding support of the parents, and you take over on your own. Famous example of Halliday's Appleby and Langler quote, this one I think in their paper that popularized scaffolding. Nigel, Auntie Joan cooked quack quack for you. Father, Auntie Joan cooked quack quack for you, did she? Auntie Joan cooked green pea, and green peas. Began to shout. Who began to shout? Nyla began to shout. Did you? What did you shout? Green pea. And again then. Picks it up. Does it by himself. Repeats it over and over and over and over. Again, practicing. This doesn't stop with young children. So here's an example from older child, 5, 6, stamp collecting, going to the post office to get a new issue of stamps to add to the stamp collection. The post office official says, yes, love, and the child says, could I have 2 different first, the Australian ones? The mother goes, 2 first day covers, you want to say. Child, could I have 2 first day covers? Post office official, yes. Mother, please, please. Oops. Here's another example, learning to accept an invitation to a birthday party on the telephone. Child, I don't know what to say. Tell me the genre. Well, first you say, this is David, and then you say that you'll be able to go to John's party. So the child dials the number and starts talking into the dialing phone. And the mother says, no, wait for someone to pick up their phone and say hello to you. And the voice says, hello. And the child says, this is David, I'm going to come to John's party, and hangs up. And the mother, supportive, there, good. Next time, after you've said your name, give them a chance to speak before you go on. All these things we take for granted, and we've forgotten all these interactions that as parents and child we engage in, teaching the genres, spoken genres, in these examples.